Okay, all right. Good morning. Welcome guys to day 9 of day 9 of our business analyst, product owner and product management training. This morning, we have some pop quiz first, and then we'll get into our sessions as well. I don't know how I should do it. Maybe I should do the lessons first, and maybe I should do the pop quiz. I will decide on what to do. But yeah, so I'll go ahead and get the pop quiz first, and then we will continue on. Okay. Okay. All right. So you guys are ready. You guys are ready for the questions. All right. So I'm going to start with. So you guys should be able to unmute yourself. Okay. You guys are should be able to unmute yourself. Bernice, Eben, James, Kofi. You guys should be able to unmute yourself, and you should be able to ask, answer questions here. So, Bernice, I'm gonna start with you, right? Because they say ladies first, right? So, so ladies first. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, Bernice, and then we can go ahead and get started. So, why don't you tell me what you're understanding so far is for Agile methodology? So when we say Agile methodology, what do you understand? Oh, you can unmute yourself. I can't unmute myself. Hold on. You guys should be able to unmute yourself now. Try, let me see.
There we go. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, James. Okay, all right. So Bernice, you can go ahead and then tell us your understanding of what Agile methodology is.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So my understanding of Agile framework is that it is a better method or a better framework that came to, I wouldn't say replace, but in a sense, it's a better form of methodology that was that came up because waterfall wasn't as efficient, when it came to time and flexibility wise. So the agile framework is the kind of framework where which is incremental and very and continuous and easy to adjust and change things, and it is the development, the design, and the testing stage can be done at the same time, unlike the waterfall where you have to wait till development or the building is done before you can test and do all the subsequent things. So this is a more better flexible in changes, with the waterfall. I'm kind of doing that comparison just to make it clearer.
Mm-hmm.
It is where you can really change anything about things or even redefine things. But with the agile, when things are not going as you want, you can immediately change processes and add on stuff easily. And with the agile, the way we gather information is something called the epic. And within the epic, we have the user stories that really breaks down things to the smallest, would I say, process for the team members to understand. I hope I give an in-depth definition.
Well, you said what what you understand so far, so that's okay. We all start from somewhere. So you've said a couple of things. It might not be it might not have been presented maybe in a sequential order. It might be all over the place, but that's okay. You've given a very good picture, a broad view of what Agile framework is about and what maybe you like about it, because you started by saying this is better. So that means you have your own preference. So that's okay, right? Some people will go with waterfall, so that's okay, right? All right. So let me come up to you, Kofi. Okay. So Kofi, let me come up to you right now, and then let me. Okay. So in Agile, we have a couple of ceremonies, right? We have a couple of ceremonies in Agile. Okay. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Yes, I'm able to do it now.
Okay. So in Agile, we have a couple of, a handful of, ceremonies that we observed. And I want you to explain to me one or two of these in the ceremony. So the first one is going to be daily stand-up meeting, and then also retrospective meeting, if you will explain these two ceremonies to me or to us.
All right. So with the daily stand-up meeting, it's such that it's done daily, and then during this meeting, team members in turn state what they were able to get done the previous day, yesterday, what they seek to do on that particular day, and then if there are any impediments or any setbacks that needs to be discussed, or the rest of the team members needs to know, so that the necessary things can be done to eradicate those impediments or those challenges. So it's basically what the team member did the previous day and what the team member seeks to do the current day, and then any challenge or impediment. And then with the retrospective meeting, so it's like you go through it's like you go through the team's status, and then over the sprint or the time being throughout the project's life cycle, and then you seek to establish what you need to stop doing in order to progress very well, and then what you need to keep doing, because maybe you have realized that it's in the right direction, and then continuous performance of such activities or such tasks can help move the company forward, move the project forward. And then the third thing is the things you need to start doing. So like if there are some things, if like you rightfully said, if a team member had come across a new technology or a new approach that he or she thinks will be beneficial to the rest of the team, he or she can bring it on board, and then we can deliberate on it, and then if it's going to help us, we adapt it. So the third thing is what we need to start doing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's great. That's great. Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah, that's good. All right, James, let me come up to you now, and if you will tell us the difference between epic and then user story. So epic versus user story.
So yeah. So epic is I would say a large requirement when it comes to gathering information. So basically, it's a large body of requirements that can be broken into specific tasks, which is the user story. So let's say, and we took with an example with the donate feature, for instance. So the donate feature on the ABC Church will be the epic. That's I would say in math, I would say that's the universal set. And when you go to the bottom, when you click in and you go into that feature, you find other features like the tithing feature, the offering feature. Those ones become a subset of the parent set, which is now become the user story. So the user story becomes the smaller requirements based on the what's it called, the end user's perspective or the request of the end user. So it gives more of a simpler explanation to what the epic gives out. Yes, that's what I understand.
Okay. All right, Bernice, we have what we call grooming session. So if you can explain to us what grooming, backlog grooming is about. What does it mean of backlog grooming? Bernice, you there? Bernice, are you there? So backlog grooming session, grooming ceremony. What is it about? Eben, are you there?
Yes,
Eben,
please. I'm here.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you tell us what grooming ceremony is about, what is grooming ceremony?
Okay. A grooming ceremony. I think.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Can I go on?
Eben, yes.
Okay. So you are talking about grooming backlog. So first of all, we will look at what a backlog is. A product backlog is when you have a iterations that gives you the end. So the process of going through all those iterations in order to get the end product that the user wants is what we'll define as the grooming session, where we look at the very details that we need to pay attention to and then make sure that it's exactly what we want to achieve at the end of the day.
No, the grooming session is not okay. So you let me take 10 and go to somebody else, and let's see if somebody else can give us the right can provide the right set of information when it comes to grooming. So Bernice, let me come to you. What is the grooming session? Can you maybe come again and tell us the right information when it comes to grooming?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so the grooming stage is really the stage where we keep the backlog up to date, just to ensure that everything is in place for our next sprint. So let's say this sprint just ended and we just go over everything just to make sure that everything is really up to date and we are on track for our next sprint.
Well, yes, we will make sure that sprint is up to date, but grooming really is not what you guys have said so far specifically. So let me come to you, Kofi, if you can help us.
So I know the grooming is where the grooming ceremony is where we actually establish the definition of ready.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand it could be facilitated by the Scrum Master. And over here we talk about all uncertainties that we have met or we can face throughout the software development life cycle. So basically, the PO brings up the stories gathered for the feature sets we want to build, and we establish or we define the ready, and then.
So you started well. You started so well. Okay, let me come to you, James, if you can help us. Then finally, if you started well with what exactly we're doing, we're establishing what we call definition of ready. who can facilitate, Scrum Master or PO, they can facilitate, but usually a PO can do that as well. And but you started, going on a tangent that I think, let me align you properly. Let me make it. So James, you can go ahead. James, tell
Yeah,
us.
so like you said, right, the grooming stage is the stage where you define the readiness of the story. So basically, sometimes when you gather stories, it comes with a lot of intangibles, a lot of assumptions, risk. So these are the places that we come together, and that's the point. Team interaction. What do you think of this requirement that every assumption and risk, every unknowns are cleared to a point that everybody has an understanding that at this point we've been able to groom it in a way that it is good to go to build.
Okay, all right.
That's my understanding of grooming stage.
Yeah, fantastic. So that's what we do at the grooming session. So, you start writing stories, right? So you bring the stories up for grooming. So that's what James has just said. At the grooming step or the grooming phase, this is all that we're doing. Grooming, we're looking at the story, and then we are fleshing out the story. So all the unknowns, all the uncertainties, all the risks, assumptions, all the things that we came up with. Sometimes the story even can be too big. This is the point that we split the stories and say, oh, this story is just too big, so let's split it. Because if you guys remember, yesterday I said something about fun fact about user story. If it has more than 2 goals, if the outcome is you begin to get 2 outcome, that means is a good time for us to split the story, right? Because you cannot have 2 goals in one story, so we split them. So grooming, really, yes, we look at a story. The point here is not about the backlog, or we're not trying to establish we are really ready to go with our requirements. No, we are grooming a story, a user story here. We're trying to establish what we call definition of ready, so that we can take the story up for development, and it will be okay, because all the risks, assumptions, unknowns, uncertainties, all of these items have been fleshed out by this time, right? Okay, all right, moving on. Next question, I'm coming up to you, Bernice, for this one. So let's start with you. What is your understanding of the difference between the product backlog and the sprint backlog? The product backlog and the sprint backlog.
So I will start with the sprint backlog. I believe you mentioned the sprint backlog is really like setting a specific time period where things are supposed to be achieved. And the maximum period you mentioned was 2 weeks, and that if it goes beyond 2 weeks, then probably the company must think about falling back on waterfall. So it is typically the, should I say, the stated time periods during which processes or tasks are usually completed, and the product backlog is really the entire process through which really building the product go through till it's done.
It is good, but I want to hear another opinion. So Eben, if you can help us with the difference between a product backlog and a sprint backlog.
Okay, so when we are talking about the product backlog, this is a list where all the details are entered to get what we call the end product. That's what we want to achieve at the end of the day. And once we proceed from there during a sprint, when we have the product backlogs that are selected, we bring them together to form what we call a sprint backlog. So one leads to the other.
Okay.
So that means that the stories from the product backlog that have been prioritized, when we put them together, that's when we get what we call a sprint backlog.
That's a keyword I want to hear, and you said it. When we prioritize top stories from the product backlog, they now become the sprint backlog, where now the team is going to work for the next iteration. So that's good. That's what I wanted to hear. Okay. All right, James. Let me get to you this time. So when we are writing a user story, there are 5 critical components that I would want to see. So if you can tell us, and not just tell us, but you also explain to us why, what these components are. You explain that as well.
So when you're writing a user story, you think about it has to be atomic, and atomic in the sense that the story has to be broken down into little pieces. So let's say, for instance, right, you have a story like, let's say a school platform, for instance, and it says that courses will be taken by undergrads and postgrads students. Now, that sentence, and it demands 2 things. Now, there's 2 requirements in that sentence, which it can be broken down into. Courses can be taken by postgrads, courses can be taken by undergrads. So that is broken down into little pieces. That's the atomic part of it. And you talk about being consistent and ambiguous, right?
So let me pause right there. So I know exactly where you're going. You talk about the quality attribute or the properties that want to see, but a user story. I talk about 5 major components or structures, the structure of a user story, and that is what I want to see. I think you were not part of that session, but anyway, I know that you would have watched that video by now. So take a look at the user story. There are 5 key things I want to see over there or being addressed in the story. So did you watch the video yet, or you have not watched the video yet?
Don't think I've seen the video yet.
Okay, Kofi, can you help us?
Okay, yeah, on mute, right? So yes, yeah, we the 5 things were role, the goal,
right,
benefits or outcome. There was also additional information or description, I remember, and then the acceptance criteria.
Okay.
And then the role you made mention that when writing the story, it must be specific. So for instance, if it's coming from the CEO or the CEO or maybe even the customer, it must be specific and then states in the story that this is coming from this particular person. And then the goal must be clear and establish the objective of the story, the objective in the story, the meat in the story, and then also come down to explain the benefit or the outcome or what that particular feature will seek to adhere to or satisfy eventually. Also, with additional information, we need to state any extra details in the story because it will help the developers. And then also the acceptance criteria. So in the development life cycle, the point where we know this is going to be accepted, or the criteria, the qualities of what we are building, and we know that the client is going to base on this to accept.
Okay. All right, that's good. Yeah. So that's good. So in every story, we want to see the role, the goal, the expected outcome, or the expectation, or the outcome, and then we want to see the additional details or the information, and then we also want to see the acceptance criteria in there. And the role is basically the function. So stories are written in the perspective of the end user. So if it's a customer, you put it as a customer, I want the ability to do this. As a visitor, as an admin, as whoever the function might be, that is how we write the stories in the perspective of the customer or the end user, right? So yes, thank you, Kofi. So let me come to you. Let me come to you, Eben. I've said a lot about sprint velocity. Can you tell us what sprint velocity, what it is?
Okay, so please can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, So when we are talking about sprint velocity, we are looking at the bandwidth or the speed at which a team can work. So here, the sprint is determined by what we call the how do you call it, point. Okay, so we are looking at the capacity, the strength of the team, and then we are looking basically at the number of stories that the team can finish at a particular time. So this can be done in what we call 2-point story or 5-point story, which means that the 2-point story is it will take us 2 days to develop and ship that particular aspect, or a 5-point story will take us 5 days to develop and ship. So so to sum it up, it's basically an estimation of how long it will take to tackle each particular item or slice a story. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good. Benis, let me come to you. I also talked about the difference between two of the popular frameworks in Agile, called Kanban and then Scrum. So if you can tell us the difference between Scrum and then Kanban, what's the difference? Bernice, are you there? The difference between Scrum and then Kanban.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I think you made mention of the fact that the Scrum commits to a ship working software through the intervals called the sprint. So the Scrum kind of uses the sprint to complete tasks and to really finish whatever task or project that has been set. And you also talk about the Kanban that also focuses on reducing the time it takes to complete a project. And you talked about how it uses something called the Kanban board to really prioritize things, like really tell us what we are going to do, so it doesn't necessarily give us like 2 weeks as say the sprint under the Scrum would do. It is more flexible for us to do what we want to do, but we just the flow, it just flows. There is an like a fast or an easy flow with a Kanban, and with the Scrum, it is kind of time bonded.
Okay, so that's what I want to hear. I want to hear that keyword of time box. So Scrum is time box. We have a like a duration, sprint duration. A release cycle can be 2 weeks, it can be 4 weeks. So that's great. And then with Kanban, we don't really have that time box or that sprint cycle in there. Okay, all right. So that's good. All right, James, let me come to you. When we come to storytelling and estimation, what does it mean? What do we do here when it comes to this Agile ceremony of estimation and storytelling?
So when it comes to storytelling and estimation, this is where the sprint velocity comes into place, right? So the team now think about, okay, so when you talk about sprint velocity, what is our capacity? What can we do in this given sprint? What will be our strength? What will be the cap that we can work with? So here, the team now goes in and then estimates each and every user story. So let's say the developer comes in and say, hey, okay, with this user story, based on the complexity of it, I think that I can use 2 days, or maybe it's a 2-point or a 3-point user story, and it goes on, and then then tester will also come and say, okay, based on this, I think I can use a day or two to finish testing. So now they aggregate. So another day they will commutate everything and say, okay, well, this is how many days that we can use to finish this job or this user story, this feature. The goal is that you have in your mind that you've established your sprint velocity, so you cannot go above that cap. You always have to be within, so that the team doesn't become exhausted. So basically, that's the estimation.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Good. Kofi, talk to us about the sprint, demo. Kofi, are you there? Talk to us about the sprint demo.
The sprint demo. Okay, so with a sprint demo, is basically demonstrating what we have done so far to the client or to the customer.
Okay.
Or we show it to the various stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, making a demonstration to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, that's what the sprint demo satisfied.
Okay. So what is a sprint? What is a sprint, Eben? So what is a sprint? Are you able to unmute yourself, or you're not able to? Okay. So don't worry about that. This question of what is a sprint. Now this is going to be the last set of questions. So everybody's going to have one question. So I know you guys are 4 in this one session. The rest of the pack, the rest of people that they didn't show up. I know you guys are 4. So everybody's going to tell me one Agile manifesto, right? So I'm going to start from Bernice. You tell me one Agile manifesto, because there are 4 Agile manifesto. So everybody's going to tell me one. So Bernice, you tell me one. James, you tell me one. Kofi, you tell me one. You're going to be the third person. Then Eben, you're going to be the last person to tell me the last Agile manifesto. So let's start with you, Bernice. You give us one Agile manifesto.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the first Agile manifesto is the individual and team interaction over processes and tools.
Mm-hmm.
So this is I think you talked about, this is where all the stand-up meetings and the product grooming and the perspective, that this is where it all falls, where they all come together and kind of brainstorm about whatever story they have or whatever they have to work on. And I think you mentioned this is the learning process as well, where we kind of pick up on each other, pick up each other's mind on the processes and the things that we are about to do, what is available, what we would need. And
Okay. All right. Now, James, tell us one of the things, the manifesto.
Responding to change over following the plan.
Okay.
So here, unlike the waterfall methodology, where if there's any changes in the build, now you have to go through a lengthy protocol just to even get a change, like a change management process. Here, since that you're always collaborating with the customer, after you finish a particular sprint, now you invite a customer over. Of course, you want to show it to them what you've done. Now the customer has an input. You have a chance to get a feedback. Okay, is it what you intended for us to build? Yes, this is it. No, this is not it. So here you have the ability to change it without even going through a process. It's just like, okay, yeah, okay, what do you really intend us to do? This and this and that and that and that. Okay, we got it. We're gonna fix it. So you have that ability to change without going through a lengthy process.
Okay. All right. Eben.
Okay, so I'll be taking the customer collaboration over contract negotiation.
Okay.
So with this particular manifesto, we are looking at having constant interaction with our stakeholders to make sure we are getting the stories right. We are working towards the end product, exactly what the stakeholders need or exactly what they're expecting, instead of going back and forth, having a contract negotiation where we will do this for you, and after we are done, we put everything together into a proposal, submit to them, wait for them to go over the back and forth stuff. But with this particular manifesto, we are looking at customer collaboration, getting them involved to speed up the process. That's to have our items shipped out on time. Yes.
Okay. All right. Great.
So
Yeah, great. Kofi, I'm the last one.
Okay,
The last Agile manifesto.
So the last one would be working software over comprehensive documentation.
Okay.
Agile is such that the product is live, or an aspect of it has been deployed and is live, and the client or the customer gets to see it. So during this, or as far as this manifesto is concerned, there's that comprehensive documentation of every single client suggestion per what the client view, as long as the product has been deployed or is live. So there's that proper documentation as developers work on upgrading or making enhancements to the software.
Okay. All right. Great. So great, Q&A session this morning. Like I always say, this is good. The kind of responses and the kind of answers that you guys are giving, that means you guys are really, following. So that's good. That's good. The last time that we did a Q&A session, it was good as well. It was good if I was to, maybe assign, a percentage or something. I think this one exceeds, this one goes beyond, above and beyond. This one, I'll give this morning session maybe 95%, and maybe I'll give the other Q&A maybe 65%. and partly because I kept telling you guys that there's going to be a pop quiz on Thursday, right? So you guys were getting prepared. Hopefully that was the case. But if that was the case and you guys are just learning, then that is also awesome. That's also great. But we have some 2 minutes left, so I'm going to open the window. If anybody has a question, clarification, or whatever, that even from the Q&A you wanted to clarify something, I have some 2 minutes left, right? So be snappy with a question. So question before we end, this morning's session, and then tomorrow we'll go ahead and take a look at, acceptance criteria and then stories, examples, and then watch out. Later on today, I'm going to set up your account in Jira, so you guys might be receiving invitation to come to Jira. I guess I will only set it up for the people that are here today. If you're not here today, that means your account is good. This is one of the benefits of being present every day, right? Showing up. You guys have to show up. So today I'll go ahead and do that later on in the day. Provision your accounts or set up your account in Jira, and then after tomorrow's session, from that point on, everything's going to be hands-on. It's going to be practical. We're going to be writing story. We'll get it into a project. So question. Let me know. We have some 2 minutes left. Let's be quick with a question, and then.
Okay, so I do have a quick question for you. So my question is, so I think when you were talking about the benefits of functional requirement, you made mention of requirement analysis tools. Can you kind of tell us more on the requirement analysis tools?
Yeah, requirement analysis too. So we have tools that we use for managing requirement, right? We have great, robust, enterprise level, type of, requirement, management tools. One of them is, Jira, the tool that you guys are going to be, you guys are going to start using from maybe tomorrow, from what's today? Today is Thursday, so tomorrow is Friday. So maybe from Monday going, yeah. So maybe from Monday going. So that's an enterprise tool. That's an enterprise tool. You have to pay money, pay licensing and other things, to get in and then start, using it. That's what, most organizations and corporate bodies, that's what they use in managing that requirement. There are other tools for analysis, like, Rally. Rally is also another great tool. There are what we call, ClearQuest. ClearQuest is also another great tool as well. We have, Pivotal Tracker. Pivotal Tracker is also another great tool for requirement management and analysis. So there are, a whole lot of them, a bunch of them on the market, right? But the most popular one is the Atlassian stack, which is the Jira, the one that you guys will be, getting in from tomorrow, and then start, practicing. So that is a popular one that everybody uses, like every organization. And let me also say over here that most of the knowledge that you gain in this tool, they are transferable. So it's very easy to transfer, the knowledge and, be able to use another set of tools because they're all the same. You're writing epics, writing user stories, dating our user stories, acceptance criteria, and whatnot. So it's almost the same, right? Almost the same. Question. We have 1 minute.
Okay, so yeah, I do have one more question. Sorry. So you talked about the requirement quality properties, and I don't know, when you were going over that, you kind of really rushed through it. So I was wondering if you can just go over that because really when you say atomic, I think James was trying to really go into it this morning, and I was trying to really hope that it was the right question for him to go through it. But really, if you can just go through it quickly.
Yeah, so for that, I'm not going to be able to do that within the 1 minute time, but we'll definitely look at that. But James really got it, so you may have to consult with James, and James will maybe explain that to you. so it looks to me like this morning, James was on fire on that. So you may have to get with him, and then have a private session, and then you can go over that with you as well. So we will definitely look at that maybe in some other session. Right, no problem with that. Any more question? All right, guys, it's already 7 a.m. I need to take my daughter to school, right? So we will convey back tomorrow morning. Have a good day. Have a wonderful day, guys. All right, see ya.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.